This podcast is brought to you by RX Smart Gear. Whether you're just starting out in your fitness journey or an avid workout enthusiast, a jump rope is one of the most essential pieces of equipment you should have in your workout arsenal, and I cannot recommend RX Smart Gear jump ropes highly enough. I've been using the RX Smart Gear jump rope for close to 10 years now. The quality, variety, customization are beyond compare. I actually did a workout yesterday with my first RX Smart Gear rope that I got almost 10 years ago, and it's still an amazing addition, still worked out great for the workout that I did. I love these ropes. Not only are they dedicated to constantly improving and challenging the community with their variety of ropes, but they're also dedicated to the education when it comes to their ropes and promote proper movement and technique patterns, which we of course love at Power Monkey Fitness. They've recently launched their new Frevo rope, which is made of a high impact polymer that can withstand up to a 50-pound dumbbell impact. With grippy handles and smooth transitions between drills, you cannot lose with this rope. Take your freestyle game to another level and visit rxsmartgear.com and order your rope today. Welcome to the Power Monkey Podcast, where we chat with the best in the world about what they do. I'm your host, Dave Durante, with my co-host, Mike Service, and on today's episode, we have young gun, up-and-coming superstar on the female side, Alex Gazan. Now, Alex is coming off of a victory at the North American West Semifinal just a couple weeks ago as a 21-year-old. It's an incredible feat, and we talk a little bit about what those semifinals were like, what events she enjoyed, which ones she wished she had another stab at, as well as how this preps her leading into Madison in just a couple of months. We also talk about the move going from Oregon, now living in Las Vegas and training under Justin Kotler with the rest of the Underdog Athletic crew, what it's like to be surrounded by other incredibly athletic females and being able to train alongside them, and how it's been a benefit for her to be surrounded by so many incredible athletes on a daily basis. We talk about some other things revolving around doping, as well as revolving around the mental side of the sport, being a young athlete, being a taking away from maybe what a 21-year-old would normally be doing, being in school, being around her family and friends, and now being in an environment where training is a priority, how it's allowed her to kind of evolve and be someone that can sustain this lifestyle for a long period of time. We were lucky enough to have Alex out with us at our Power Monkey Camp 19, so we got to know her a little bit more. We talk about her camp experience, and we're definitely hoping to get her back out in the fall. We hope you guys enjoy this one. Well, Alex, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today on the Power Monkey Podcast. How are you doing?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Well, first off, I think a congratulations is in order for your incredible performance. We're recording this a little bit after your win at your semi, and we actually just concluded all of the semis this past weekend. And I'm curious if you watched the other semis and kind of used it as a gauge for where you'd be after seeing the rest of the ladies perform.
Yeah, I tried to watch the first week, but I was so nervous that I'd watch like 5 minutes and have to turn it off. I was able to watch this last weekend, which was really fun, actually. It was fun to watch and appreciate the sport without feeling nervous about it. So yeah,
Now,
it's like definitely a good gauge. Like it's interesting to see people's times and like where you stack up. But then you also have to like take into account like, would you have gone faster if you were racing this person right next to you, or would you have slowed down? Like just little things. So taking it with a grain of salt.
so when you compete in that type of situation, you're competing in the moment, in the sense, the way you brought it up is, if I needed to go faster, I'd be able to go faster. If I need to slow down, I'd be able to slow down. So you're kind of competing against the person next to you, not so much as I'm putting blinders on and just going as hard as I possibly can within this workout. You really are competing to win that heat or win that moment, not so much to go 100%.
Yeah, I think it depends on the workout and like where you're sitting in the weekend and what you can afford to win or lose. Like I'll use the handstand push-up rope climb event as an example. Like most athletes in that event can't afford to look at the person next to them, and it's 1000% like your own capacity. Whereas like maybe the burpee one, like you can kind of dig a little deeper like with the person next to you. So I definitely try to do both depending on where I'm at and what's to gain or lose by going faster. Towards the end of the weekend, like I didn't want to make any mistakes, right? Like you wanted to like execute well. So that was more like blinders on. But there's times where it's fun to just get in the race with the competitors next to you.
Favorite workout of the weekend?
The second one, it was the ring muscle up pistol burpees.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the workout on its own, but then the race with Ariel made it so much fun. And the crowd was like, I've never got to experience like the crowd in that sense. I've heard the crowd get crazy for races before. I was just never involved, and it was a really cool feeling.
So this is the first time we've seen like a ring complex. Obviously, the weighted component added a little bit of a challenge to it. But what did you feel about the combination of doing, a toes to ring, a muscle up, but then also having to do an additional dip? Because I think the intention from Boz, from my perspective as a gymnast, is let's add the component of having to show some support at the top of the rings, which has been a big talking point, even from past games where athletes are pushing back, not really showing that they're showing control. So adding that additional dip is forcing an athlete to spend more time on the top of the rings. Did you notice that as like an additional challenge from the way that you've been working on muscle ups before? Or was it something that you embraced and said, okay, this is some place that I can actually excel?
I loved it. I like the higher skill gymnastics, and for me, like my pec strength is something that I lean on a lot. So usually my limiting factor in muscle ups is just like general fatigue or like the transition over the top, like when I get tired. It's never the dip. So like getting to like go all out on burpees and not have to worry about like pec fatigue, and then knowing that that's where other girls would struggle towards the end, like that extra dip, especially weighted. I was really excited. I thought it was really fun.
That's an anomaly. That is an anomaly. I mean, I'd say almost everyone in the field, men and women, the main factor of fatigue, the drop off point will be their dip in that situation. So you have such an advantage there, and it can kind of, I'm surprised you didn't say Linda was your with your pressing strength, and obviously you being known for your incredible bench press. Is it 270? Is that correct? Is that where you're at right now?
Yeah.
We were talking about it before. None of us have anywhere near 270. Can your
So,
husband out bench press you, or are you?
I think so. I hope so.
oh well, you don't, Alex. You don't have to say it like that. I mean, there's other redeeming qualities for your partner to have than being able to bench press more than you. For
270 is
example,
no joke.
I'm very proud of my strict ring muscle up capacity, and my wife kicked my butt this weekend on the Power Monkey workout, which you're gonna have to try. We'll
Oh, what
send it
is
to
it?
you. So, Dave, what was it? It was 10 rounds for time, one strict ring muscle up, and then once you're in the support, 5-second L hold, and your feet
Oh.
have to be above your hips, and for time. So
Oh.
I went in pretty confident and then left pretty humble.
That's
So
that
Caveat
sounds
on that,
fun.
the caveat on that is that if you can't do the L sit correctly, that whole round doesn't count. You've got to do everything over again.
So it's 10 rounds, one strict muscle up, 5-second L support.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll talk to Justin. Maybe I'll do that this week. That
yeah,
sounds
I
fun.
think. So
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
don't
all
don't
about ring complexes for sure.
don't hold your husband too accountable. I mean, I'm sure he can bench more than you, but since all of us are a little lower on the totem pole, we want to feel better about ourselves.
I love it.
So I love that one as well. That one from a spectator perspective, watching the way the burpees, especially when the two were right next to each other in the screen, and you guys were fighting for those reps. It was awesome to watch. But least favorite workout from the semis, one that maybe you want to do again, or if you had a second shot at it, you'd relish the opportunity.
I have two for completely different reasons. The first one was so hard. It was so awful. I knew, like, watching the East, like, we knew that the sled was going to be hard. Like, you could see it. It was annihilating people. And so in practice, we, like, loaded up a sled with, like, 220 pounds. And it was, like, kind of a crappy sled. And I was able to move it. And I was like, okay, it's going to suck, but, like, I can move this sled. Like, I'll be okay. I was not okay. It was so hard. I felt like I'd pull once and like I'd get some momentum. I'd be like, okay, like whatever you just did, like do that again. And I'd like do the same exact motion and it wouldn't move at all. And then I'd do the same thing and it'd move like an inch and then nothing and then an inch. And it was like a really big mental test because you almost felt like helpless. Like you were like, I'm doing everything in my power to move this sled and it's not moving. And I felt really fit on the machines, which was like why it was such a tough pill to swallow. Like I think I got on the runner 10th and I came off 3rd and I was like sick. Like I'm like, I feel good. Like my heart rate feels in control. And then I just got my ass handed to me by that sled. So that's like probably one of my least favorites just because it was so mentally tough. But again, I guess that's what CrossFit's supposed to be.
Just for the listeners out there too, let's just go over the workout really quick so they know what it is.
Yeah.
It was 3,000 meter echo bike, hand over hand pull. So the sled pull 84 feet, 2,000 assault air runner, 2,000 meter, then another 84-foot sled pull, 1,000 meter ski erg, and then a 92-foot pull at 180 pounds. So those sled pulls ended up being the limiting factor for just about everybody there. It wasn't about the machines, it was about the pull for everybody.
And it wasn't even the weight of the sled. It was the whatever they used. It was like a carpet type like tarp material. And so it just like it would move and it would get stuck. It was wild. Like some people's would just like fold underneath itself. Like luckily I don't think mine did that. I don't know. But it was just a really inconsistent component. And I think that I think it ended up not being fair across the field. Like, but that's what it is. And then my second least favorite event because of my own performance was the snatch, the max snatch into
You're breaking my heart. You're breaking my heart.
Mike wanted to talk to you about this one.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the reason I was bummed about it is like, I feel like I've kind of had a mental block with snatching, and this past season we've worked a lot on it. I mean, as much as possible, like with avoiding like some wrist injuries and stuff. But like leading up into practice, I had a couple of times where I hit 185, I hit 192. Like I was like at least hitting numbers that I felt would have been relatively like consistent with the field. It wouldn't have won, but it would have at least been like in the mix of top 15. And I just absolutely bombed it, like my own doing. Like I just got in my head, and it was very disappointing, but like it happens.
I'm curious on that, Alex. What were your warm-ups like before the workout started?
Not good. Like in the warm-up area, like it just felt weird. Like the snatches themselves felt weird, and I missed a good chunk of lifts in the warm-up area. But then I like got it together and I hit my opener, which was 165 a couple times, and I was like, okay, like I feel confident that I can hit that. And then they actually had, which I thought was really nice, was like some platforms right before you went on. So usually you get corralled and you have like 20 minutes till you start. But thankfully they actually brought us essentially right before we walked out. There was some platforms. So we had about like 5 minutes to hit a couple lifts, and I essentially re-warmed up back to my opener and I hit it, and like I didn't miss, and I was like, perfect. Okay. Like I got the jitters out and I got on the floor, and I think my brain just went out my ears and I had no idea what I was doing.
What was the feeling when you got off the runner? Like, did you feel like jello-y? Were you just like a little nervous? What was the feeling there?
I think I was just nervous. Like, I mean, the 800 run wasn't at a pace that would like smoke you. And like I said, we practiced it in practice. And so I was used to the feeling of snatching under fatigue, and my limiter isn't my strength. Like I consider myself one of on the stronger end. For me, it's always just technique and like execution. And I think I just let my nerves and focus get the best of me.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to that feeling, having been a weightlifter, like not going into a snatch fatigue, but there were a lot of times where I would warm up great or warm up horrible and then have a pretty long pause before my first attempt. And I can remember a few times grabbing the bar, and this is being a competitor for 10, 15 years already at that point in weightlifting, and it would feel like a foreign movement. So I think there's plenty of, high level weightlifters that could even relate to that. Just sometimes it just has that happen. And I mean, your ability, you still put the lift in. And I mean, that was still that was like a 85% lift for you, 85%.
I think my one rep is 192. So
okay, yeah. So you're like, I mean, you're close to 85% on that, which I know, going into that, you want to have a number that you feel is like respectable or, on par with
Yeah.
like you said, that top 15. But if you look at like percent, I think the average percent for most of the girls that even were hitting like those 180 to 190s or more,
Mhm.
it was like 85 was pretty normal and like 90 was like up there. And then, yeah, you have the
Yeah.
few anomalies where you just feel great and you hit a PR or
Oh,
something. But
did you guys
um,
watch the Europe
so
one?
I was there. So
Oh,
yeah, because I don't know if you remember from some of our conversations at camp, but
hmm,
I live kind of all over right now, but some
yeah.
of the time is
Live in
in Germany.
Germany.
Yeah, well, I live in Greece, but I'm living in Germany.
There was
Um,
some beautiful weightlifting there. I was like,
Oh, it was great. I was so happy because talking to a few people prior to Brian Friend being one of them, he's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe the snatch field here might not be as good as what you see in the US, and he was talking more about the guys at the time, but I think he was curious with the women too. And then Dave, I don't know if you and Jordan saw it, but you were talking, Alex, about like experiencing the crowd go crazy. At one point it was like almost simultaneous. Laura Horvath, then Freyova, and
hmm,
then Gabby Megala all hit 200 and 210 like within a second of each other, and it was
Mm.
like boom boom boom. And it was cool. I felt a little bad for Laura because then she had to get on the runner, and it was a tiebreaker with Freyova, who like was the first one off the runner and smoked 190 right off the runner. But
it was so good. She did
yeah,
so good.
that was a cool one to see. But I think you like you just said, you have the strength to do all of it. So I mean, you still have many years to perfect your snatch and your clean and jerk. So I think when you have an event like this come up a year from now or 2 years from now, you'll be the one getting off the runner with like 200 or 205 with no question.
Thank you.
So
And
what's
maybe
your, go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna make one little jab in the side. Maybe if you come hang out with me at the snatch station, instead of being over in the corner. Like when you can look at me in a second. Do you remember that?
Mike's talking
Yeah,
about Power Monkey Camp that you didn't
At,
take the snatch station. He's very,
I did
very upset
too.
that it.
no, you were like well,
No,
okay.
I did too. I was sitting with Ellen, and remember, she got to snatch for the first time.
Okay, that's true. But we were supposed to
I
we
did
were
the
supposed we
whole
were supposed
station.
to we were supposed to do some more at the end because we wanted to check a few things, and I was excited to, but I think maybe we both
Okay,
got
I
busy.
did sit through the whole 2 hours, so
Okay. All right. Well, then I take that back. That was not very nice of me. There were a few more things I wanted to do with you
but
guys.
next time we can do more
All
extra.
right. All right. Fair. That's fair.
Well, let's come back to camp in a second and finish up with some semi stuff and Mike's hurt feelings here. But finish up semis, you win semis. Obviously, that's a huge confidence booster going into next steps. But what does the week uh post semis look like for you? Obviously, there's a lot of time now between semis and the games, and it'd be a little bit of kind of a down period before you try and come back up for a peak at the right time. But what
Mhm.
does training look like for you post the week post semis and now ramping back up for the push for the games?
Yeah, something I'm really learning this year is the value of rest. And so this whole week I really didn't do anything. Like I did like a little bit of bodybuilding with my friend just for like fun, and then I think I sat on the bike for like 40 minutes just to like stay loose, and honestly just doing whatever sounds fun. Like I did some like rehab stuff just to manage some like tweaks I'm dealing with, but otherwise like I did not get my heart rate that high or like push my CNS in any way. Um, my first like full day back will be tomorrow. But even then it'll be like ramping into it slowly. So tomorrow's my first like day of programming. Um, and for people listening, I guess this would be a week and a day after. Um, so yeah, tomorrow will be my first day of programming, kind of easing back into it, and then we'll kind of just ramp up from there.
Alex, can you
Amazing.
can you please reinforce that so the people in the back can hear?
Mm-hmm.
It's completely okay to take a week off from like normal programming. I think Dave probably can relate to that, and so many other coaches out there when we want somebody to just take some time away or off, and then it's like, no, I have to get back to work. So it's very
Yeah,
nice that you said that.
I think like CrossFit is like, I understand why that happens just because there's so much you feel like you need to get better at all
Yep.
times. So you're like, oh, if I miss like 2 days, like I'm gonna fall behind. And I think I felt that really big in the beginning of this season, like in September, October, like I was really motivated and I wanted to have a better season. So like I just pushed past a lot of things I shouldn't have. And in turn, like I've dealt with more tweaks than I ever have, like in any other year. And each little tweak that I got, like I could tell you the exact set rep that it happened because I literally was like, I can do another one. Like I can do one more, even though like I felt not good. But going into semis, I did Power Monkey, came home and was like ready to train, but then I got sick after a couple days. Got sick, trained a couple days, and then had to like deload, right? Because it's almost time. So I felt like I was super undertrained, but like it goes to show your body actually retains so much of what you do and put in that the rest doesn't kill you.
Now,
Yep.
being out in Vegas now, I want to come back to where you came from because we connect a little bit on that when you were out of camp with us, being you being an Oregonian and me being a new Oregonian living not that far away. But we did a course out at your former gym at CrossFit and Hood River, which is one of the most beautiful gyms. We got to give a shout out to them because it's one of the most beautiful gyms we've ever been to. It's gorgeous. Hood River is amazing. What was it like growing up there and then making the move to someplace so different like Vegas? Was that a difficult
Yeah.
change for you being, you're still very young. And I'm just curious, if that was a challenge for you being, 21 years old and going from a place like Oregon out to Vegas.
Totally. I think like I've never been a big city gal. It like overwhelms me. So like the idea of moving to Vegas originally was like, oh my gosh. And I had never been there. Um, and I went to visit Jake at the time because he was living here. And then I found out there's a lot more to Vegas. Like there's a lot more like nature. You can go on hikes. Like you're not in a city like feeling. So that was really comforting. And for me, the hardest part has been being away from my family. They all live in Oregon, and I'm a big family gal. Like I'm pretty sure I slept in my mom's bed until like I got married. So that's been hard, but I do miss Oregon. I was just there this last week, just kind of seeing everybody like after semis, and I spent some time at the gym. I like coached a class, and you're right, Viento. Like I've never been to another gym. Like they keep it so nice, and like it's just a really nice place.
I love it. Well, I'm sorry we didn't get to meet up while you're here. If you come back to Oregon, we got to figure out a way for us to maybe
Yeah,
not get a workout in because you'll kick my ass in the actual workout, but maybe we can work on some technique. We can do
yeah, for
some
sure.
gymnastics, power monkey training, something like that.
I
But
love
I
it.
you got to
think,
let me know when you're back out this way.
Dave, I think the perfect thing would actually be to get Sadie. Jordan, you were saying, or Jordan was telling us, Alex, is it true you're wanting to get something better with your split, right?
Like do this like my splits. Oh, I've always wanted to be able to do the splits, and I'm not gonna say I gave up. It's not been very successful.
All right. So next time you're out, you just need to head down to the Durante family gym with all the nice stretch pads and contraptions and give
Perfect.
Sadie, a couple hours with you.
Perfect.
Yeah, you remember Sadie from camp, right? My wife. Yeah, she's a mobility contortionist expert. So if there's anybody to help you get your splits, Sadie's the one. So we'll make sure we
I
get
was
some
like,
sessions in together.
I was joking with people after camp because I was like, like I've always known my mobility is bad, but every single station at camp was just a kick to the face. Like it was like, put your shoulders over your head, and I was like, okay. Like,
I think that's a good reinforcement for the importance of mobility, right? Like, no matter what you're doing, a mobile body will allow for better movement patterns. So I think you're doing pretty well, all things considered.
It's getting better. It's getting a lot better, but it's a work in progress.
Now, you are 21. You're young. You're a young gun. You have an incredibly bright future ahead of yourself. Winning semifinals is obviously putting your name on the map in a new way leading into the games, and people are obviously having an eye on yourself. But I wanted to talk a little bit about something that may be a touchy subject with everything going on, but there's been such an influx of young talent on the female side, and a lot of them have been the superstars the last few years, the Haley Adams, obviously the Mouse. And what we've seen from the younger generation is a struggle to be able to maintain the mental side of competing at such a high level. And, you get pulled away from school and you leave your home and you leave that comfort zone of being around your family or your friends and whatever tight-knit community you came from to go and train as a professional athlete as a teenager or as a young adult. And you have all this physical tools in the world to be able to handle it, but there are a lot more things that go into it aside from just physical tools. And I'm curious from your side of things, because you seem to be handling things very, very well. And I'm curious what tools you put into play to be able to manage at such a young age all the things that come along with being such a high level performer in a new city, away from your family, as you mentioned, around athletes that are a little bit older than you. What are the tools that you implement to be able to say, all right, this is something that I can handle, or is it a struggle for you? I'm curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. I have like two things I think that have like really helped me. The first one, when I started, Karen, which you met at Viento, she really took me under her wing, and they never put any pressure on me when I started, because I was 16, almost 17 when I started taking classes. And they kept it super casual, like come do class. Like it was kind of a supplement to my other, like to lacrosse and everything. And then I found out you could compete, and I got really excited, and I wanted to try to make it as a teenager, but they still like kept it really casual. Like I wasn't following programming. Like I could come and do open gym with them and hop into whatever. If I wanted to take a day off, they didn't say anything. Like it was all on me to like go there and put in the work. Like there was no accountability per se. Like it was had to all come from within, and I think that was really helpful. Because I never felt like I was letting anyone down if I took an extra rest day, or I never felt like I had a timeline, like, oh, I have to make the games in 2020, or I have to make the games within 3 years, or there was just no pressure in that regard. So I've tried really hard to carry that into like, I guess now this season of like being more competitive and kind of being in the sport. Like I wanted to win semis, but if it didn't happen this year, like I have the mindset of like, there's next year, there's the year after. And same thing with the games. Like I want to be top 10. I want to make the podium, but there's no timeline. Like that's in God's hands, and all I can do is put in the work. So that's been really helpful. And then on like a more just like self thing, like God has been really kind of like my stabilizer. At the end of the day, CrossFit doesn't matter. And so like being able to take the pressure off of that and just know that at the end of the day, like what matters is like my faith in God and who I am as a person. And like that really, really helps for me. Did that answer?
Dave's like looking over at me to comment on that one.
This was a topic that we talked about beforehand, where Mike was really wanting to dive a little deeper. So it was hoping and wondering if you wanted to chime in.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Yeah, no, I was it's always nice to hear that, because Dave and I will both ask so many times, like for especially the higher level athletes, to be this high level of a competitor, you have to be borderline obsessed with what you're doing. Like you're obsessed with training, you're obsessed with competing. It's, it's what you think about right before you go to sleep. But at the same time, I think we have found a common theme. Most of the athletes that we've talked to that, let's say, seem to find the most joy in the sport and do it for the longest, have an interesting balance, whether it be family, whether it be work, whether it be their faith. So that's something, we're always looking for these kind of common lines, and not to say that will fix everything or ensure that you're going to have, the most fruitful career and you're always going to be, happy and you're going to avoid any of these highs or lows. But for me, it's always interesting to hear somebody say, what they feel like allows them to kind of navigate the difficulties of a situation like being a professional athlete.
Totally. Yeah, like knowing you come home, like I can come home to Jake and my dog, and my dog doesn't care if I won or got last. Like, and Jake, of course, like will be there either way. So that's always helpful too.
We just talked to Sam Briggs last week, and we were asking her a lot of questions, as you know, she's on the other end of the spectrum of, you know, having this really long career and now still competing as a master athlete. And the thing that she said too was her dogs. She said these are her, like she said, yeah, they don't care when I come home. Like, they don't care what happened in the gym. They want to go for a walk. And she's like, if I had a bad day at the gym or work and I take them for a walk, they're so happy. She said that brings her joy. So that's nice to hear.
And along with that, you know, you have your husband, you have support of the community. A lot of the athletes that have been at Underdog Athletics have been down the path that you're walking now. And a lot of, especially on the female side, it's such a strong group of women that are incredible athletes. And I'm curious if any of them have had like a really deep impact on the way that you train or has acted as mentors for you, being that they've gone through what you're looking to do now.
Yeah, I would say like Carrie really took me under her wing. Like when I joined Underdogs, she didn't have to, but she let me like follow her around like a puppy dog, just kind of like hopping into whatever she had. Because I trained with them a little bit before I actually started working with Justin. Like I just would go and hop into whatever they were doing. And she was just always so nice and like welcoming, and she wasn't coaching me, but like she just kind of like was there, and I learned a lot by watching and just observing what she did. And even now, like now that she's retired, she's so helpful, like constantly like, how can I help you? Like, let's talk, like this is what you need to know, like going into the games, or like this is something that helped me. And she really, really definitely has like impacted the way I look at things. She was always like, she did all of her programming, like she never complained, like she was a really good role model.
Now, Carrie's awesome. I used to remember living in New York City with Carrie. We were on the east side, she was on the west side, and we would always kind of bump into each other. And just oddly enough, very random story that I brought up when we had her on a while back. She used to live on the street that I grew up on, like five houses down from me in New Jersey, in Garwood. And I remember like pulling into my house one day where my parents were living, and there's like tiny towns, like nobody there. And I was pulling it, and Carrie Pierce just walked right in front of my car. I was like, why is Carrie Pierce in front of my house? It was like these worlds colliding in a very weird way. And I was like, this is very odd. It's just like for no reason. She was like, oh, she lives 5 houses down from me. So we've known Carrie, and we've kind of crossed paths many, many times over the years. And obviously her having such a high level of gymnastics background, competing at University of Michigan, we have a lot of mutual friends. But I love that she stayed involved in the sport and is acting as a mentor to athletes like yourself, because she has so much great knowledge and experience. And it's cool to see her being able to pass that along. Is she acting as a coach right now? Is it more that she's just in the gym training and you guys just crossed paths because of that?
She's actually not training so much right now. She does a little bit like in her garage and stuff. She's working more on getting her like overall like hormones and health back in order after competing for so long. So she's kind of taking it easy, like focusing on herself, family, all that. So I see her, like she'll pop in maybe once every couple weeks, or like yesterday we just went to church and like went on a walk together, and like so we just kind of keep in touch that way right now.
Awesome. So this kind of leads to one of the questions that I love asking high level athletes, and I do it quite often on the podcast, but I love hearing the responses from different athletes according to where they are in their training. And it has to do with the difference between training on your own, which you did for a while. Maybe you didn't have the same high caliber athlete that you're training with now back in Oregon, but training essentially by yourself versus moving to a location that's a high level training performance center where athletes are moving to. You have a camp, essentially. You're able to train with athletes that are all striving for the same goals together. And I'm curious, pros and cons. Obviously, every athlete that we talk to has a different perspective on it. But how do you feel about being in a gym every day where you have to compete against your potential competitor at the games or at semis, the person that's going to be in the lane next to you? Do you find this to be a benefit or a potential detriment in terms of feeling like you need to be on every day?
Yeah, I hate training alone. I just like, I mean, granted, there's some things like I don't mind like running alone or like doing some cardio intervals alone or whatever it is, but because CrossFit's so self-revolved, right? Like you're doing everything for your own benefit. Like you go to bed early, you have to train, like you're constantly thinking about yourself and like what you're doing. That I find it really unfulfilling being alone and training all day alone. It's way more fun. Like you get hype from other people, like if you're lifting or maybe you'll get that extra push to Metcon. But I do acknowledge like you can't be turned on every day and you can't race every day. Like it's just not sustainable. So it's kind of just finding that balance of like understanding like, hey, like winning or losing, like I'm gonna put it in the quotation marks, in a Metcon, like against your training partners, doesn't mean much. Like I could be a training partner by 2 minutes one day, but for all I know, like maybe they're not feeling good that day. Maybe they like pushed really hard in their cardio session that morning and they're kind of like running on empty, or maybe I lost, but they're feeling great and I'm feeling like crap. Like you kind of just have to like take everything with a grain of salt and also decide like, hey, are we pushing each other today? Like, are we going to race, or like, are we just kind of focusing on training and trying to get a benefit for ourselves, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember we were asking the same question to Matt Torres and some of the crew down in Bruton, Florida. And a lot of times to avoid any of this unintended, we're competing when we're not supposed to be or not intending to, they would do very much more individualized training where the intention of each workout was different for every athlete. So, you're trying to get this particular thing out of this workout, not specifically just win, but we're going to really focus on the gymnastics side of this workout. We're really going to focus on the technique of your lifts in this workout and make it a little bit more individualized so that everybody has a priority rather than just time or rounds.
Totally.
Yeah. So Vegas itself, quiet town, Oregon versus big city lights of Vegas. Do you actually ever enjoy Vegas at all? Do you go see any shows? Have you seen anything on the strip? Or do you go do any of that stuff since close by?
Yeah, I feel like every once in a while, like maybe for like an anniversary or like a fancy date night, like once in a blue moon, like we'll go see a show, or but honestly, like there's good food outside of the strip. Like there's nice restaurants not in the strip, and it's just like when I think of it as a chore. Like you go, you find somewhere to park, you walk like a mile to where you're going. It's $20 to park. Like your food's like double the price. Like there's crazy people everywhere. I don't love it. It's just not my scene. But some shows are really cool. Like I've seen a few of the Cirque shows, and like it's really, really amazing to see what some people can do. We've been to like a couple comedy shows. But for the most part, I avoid the strip like the plague.
Understandable. I think most people that live in Vegas do that, but I'm curious about the Cirque shows because coming from the gymnastics and the performance background, we have a lot of friends that perform. Do you have a favorite that you've seen?
I've seen 3 of the Cirque du Soleil shows. I saw Ka, Mystere, and O.
All right.
I liked Ka because there was like a storyline, and like that's always makes it more fun. Mystere was like you didn't know what was going on, you just appreciated the circus of it. But O was really cool. There was some like really cool water tricks, and like some of the high divers was really cool to watch. I'd say O or Ka was my favorite.
Love it. O is my favorite. I love the water show, and my college roommate is the lead in Ka right now. So I've seen Ka like
Oh
20
wow,
times over the years. Yeah.
that's
And
awesome.
you should go see you should go see Love too. Love is
I haven't
if
seen
you
that
like
one yet.
if you like Beatles music at all, Love is fantastic. Have you either of you guys seen any of them?
No, I haven't seen one in so long, and I'm desiring it.
I
If you
saw
guys are ever in
Con.
Vegas, we can all go.
I saw Con
Yes.
O, and then I saw what was the burlesque one they did? It was
Oh,
like
Humanity.
I did not like that
Humanity.
at
I was
all.
zooming
It
in.
was
Yeah.
so weird,
Yeah,
but
me either.
but
I saw that one with my parents. Not the best way to
Awkward.
watch that show.
Oh man.
good call.
It was
That's a
awkward for the
bold
moment
choice.
I sat down. I was just like, I need to get out of here right away. So yeah, that one. I don't think they have that show anymore. Thank goodness.
That's hilarious. Oh,
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
not watch that with my parents. No way.
All right, so we're gonna schedule a Power Monkey trip out to hang out with you, Alex, so we can go see.
Perfect.
Perfect. And then, are we allowed to invite Kiefer to the show or no?
Oh yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Have you guys ever had a bench press competition? Because I would love to see you beat him in a bench press competition.
We have not. I don't think I've ever asked him what his bench press is.
All right. I think you guys need to, either have like a match with some version of Linda or bench press. So we love Kiefer. He came to our camp a long time ago because he's connected with all the guys out in Boston at Champion Sports, all the other physios out there. And I didn't even realize that he was out with you guys. So Jordan and Dave were giving me that info and I was excited.
Yeah, he's awesome. I'm so glad he moved out here. He's been a really cool person to have around and super knowledgeable, and just like him and Justin are kind of like opposites. Like Justin gets super hyped up and like super passionate and just like sometimes to the point where he's like running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And then Kiefer's a lot more like mellow, so they kind of balance each other out.
Yeah, Kiefer's got that nice, it mellows the right way. And then some of his comments are like dry, humorous, put you a little bit thoughtful. So it's fun to hear that there's a good contrast there for you.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the camp situation. You mentioned Kiefer coming to camp and you being there with Allison not that long ago at our 19th camp, just a couple of months back. What was the experience for you being at camp for the first time? Was it enjoyable, especially leading into season for you? Was it something that you felt was a benefit at all?
I thought it was so much fun. I wish like I enjoyed going right before semis. I think I would have maybe been a little bit more mentally present going in the fall, but I tried really hard to like not think about training and like take it as like more of like a deload. I don't even want to call it a deload week because you're so stimulated all week. Like you're active and like you're moving, but I wasn't training per se, or I was trying not to do like too much of my own stuff. And it was a blast. Like I thought that like you were just stimulated the whole time, and like there's not a lot of downtime, and it made it really fun, like just going from thing to thing, and you take away so much to the point. Oops, sorry. Good. Are we there?
Yep.
I dropped my phone. Yeah, I had a really, really fun time, and like my favorite part was honestly just like meeting so many people and like getting to talk to the best of the best at what they do and just soaking up so much knowledge. Yeah, I want to go again. I was talking to who was I talking to? Someone else at the gym was like, I want to go, and I was like, let's go in the fall. And, I think super fun.
I think it would be a mistake not to bring up your pickleball skills.
No, we can leave that.
Dave, I don't know if you witnessed any of it, but there was a number of times that we were playing.
I saw a few pictures.
Well, she had this sweet move that she would do where I would hit the ball at her, and then she would go to hit it, and she would totally miss it, and the ball would just hit her in the stomach. And that happened a few times. It was
a hole in the racket.
Yeah.
So lacrosse does not carry over to pickleball.
I guess not.
Is that accurate? Because I saw the little commercial that you did where you just kept missing the ball. I was like, this has to be made up. Was that?
Well,
that was real footage, right?
That was intentionally missing, but I'm not gonna lie, I missed a few just at one of your.
Well, that means we got to come back and we got to practice a little bit more. We are going to have 3 full pickleball courts at next camp in the fall because we're building the new gym.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to have a whole tournaments going on. It's going to be more of a pickleball camp than it is going to be CrossFit, gymnastics, weightlifting, specialty sport camp. So just kind of keep that in mind for anybody who's on the fence about joining. We are sold out for camp, but Alex, you have an open invitation to come back out at any time you want.
Thank you.
Anything we do a very very in-depth review of all of our guest athletes, and on a 1 being we'd never want them back, and 10 they were an all-star. You were definitely above 5, so like we're willing to bring you back for another one.
Alex. Good. I'm glad I made the cut.
The only thing is we got to see if you can stay for the party on Friday night, because the
I
party
know.
is quite a good time.
Like why I'd want to come in the fall, because like I would have stayed, but it just felt like such a long time to like be away and like not be mentally like starting to dial in. But I had such FOMO when I was not there. So it looked so fun.
We got to see if we can bring Justin out too, and maybe that'll make things a little easier if you have your coach there.
Like
with
I said,
you.
like the fall wouldn't be stressful. Like there's no timelines in the fall of like having to be ready for something, and so.
Dave, what's our theme for the party?
But it's Camp 20, our 10-year anniversary, so we're doing Roaring 20s. So we got a little kind of Gatsby theme to it.
So you can dress fancy for the party.
That means Mike needs to shave his beard and cut his hair.
No, I like the long hair. Don't do it.
Yeah, no, I can find somebody from the 20s that looked, a little bit homeless and rustic. So I'm confident.
I used
We'll make it work.
Mike. I used you and Kogan, and I sent your guys' Instagrams to Jake because
Oh dear.
I've been trying to convince him to grow his hair out for a long time, and he's always just had this stigma that it would make him look less put together or less manly or whatever you want to say. And I was like, no, look, here's 2 live examples that I met in person. And he was
Mike?
You can, I was gonna say, you can use Kogan for manliness. I mean, he's military veteran, super, big. And I don't generally get thrown out there for examples of raw masculinity and manliness, but I appreciate that.
Well, I showed him both of you guys. He's like, okay, fine. So he's in the process.
Oh, I'm so happy. If he needs any help, any support, if you guys want to hop on a call to go over some things, I can work him through that. And that's nice that you're supporting, because my wife was equally supportive when I started to think I looked really, really silly. She's like, no, you just got to commit. You're fine.
Love it.
Positive affirmations every day. He'll do it.
Well, next steps, obviously games on the horizon. First question is goals for the games. Is it just to perform to your max abilities? Is getting on the podium an actual set in stone goal for you? What are you trying to achieve with this upcoming year?
I'd like to get in the top 10 this year. That's my numerical goal. But then of course the cliche, I want to do the best that I can do.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what are you hoping to see if Boz does the same thing he did in 2022, where he's going to throw out an infinite number of new skills, new challenges, anything that you would love to see as a new skill that we haven't seen before in a game setting?
New skill. I'm not sure about new ones, but of the newish things that we've been thrown out, I hope he brings back the parallel bars. I thought that was really fun. I hope that he continues with just strict handstand push-ups. I hate kipping.
Yeah.
It hurts and I'm not good at it.
Thank you for that. I did not even prompt you to say that. So thank you so much for you hear that, everybody? No more kipping handstand push-ups.
You'll appreciate this about Viento. Karen and Reagan and them, they never did kipping, so I just never learned. So then when I started training with other people, or when I moved, and I was just so bad at kipping because I didn't know how to do it properly. I still I'm okay now, but relative to the field, I'm not very good. So when Boz pretty much was fuck those, we're doing strict, I was like, thank you.
What about wall facing? What about wall facing deficit? How's that for you in just terms of skill levels? Is it something that's in your wheelhouse?
I like wall facing deficit better than regular deficit.
Can you tell why?
Because I think I can use a little bit more pec. It's position wise. I don't like the standard that they had last year where your head had to hover above an imaginary line, because I felt that was really subjective for a competition. For training, sure. But I would have preferred hey, your head touches and you move on. So I hope he brings back those. I liked him. I liked the legless rope climbs from semis. I hope he continues to keep those. I'm excited for a heavy clean. I hope there's either a clean ladder or things like that. Much better than my snatch. No mental block for those. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I like all the just random miscellaneous. I like the yoke. I like the game style events. I think they're fun.
Awesome.
How would you feel if they bring back moving really heavy objects into a wheelbarrow and then pushing it across to another area?
That doesn't sound very fun. But
that's, to me, that's still one of the most it was actually fun to watch because it was so awkward. And then see see people run and dump over their wheelbarrow. I grew up working on horse farms, so I was often with very heavy wheelbarrows. So I was pumped when I saw that. If there was that with a snatch ladder, heavy wheelbarrow with horse manure and then heavy snatch ladder. I mean, CrossFit would have been where I went after I retired from weightlifting.
Love it.
Mike, you can start your own games, just the farm games.
The farm games. There we go.
Yeah, just
Farm
do them in your backyard.
Olympic.
I got
Ready.
one more question for you, Alex, before we kind of start finalizing some things here. But it's a tough one. Hopefully not too much, but it's a topic that I think comes up a lot with games athletes, and has to do with just steroids and drugs and being a part of the world, and everyone just not really being sure whether or not athletes at your level are taking anything other than, supplements and things like that. And I'm curious from your perspective, one, how you feel when you are accused, or things come up where, are you natural? Are you taking anything? As an athlete, I'm curious how that affects your mental state, or what you feel like when someone is saying, okay, is this a natural ability to bench 270, or something external happening to assist with this?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of just brush it off. I usually will make jokes like, "Oh yeah, like I'm almost out. I need some more," or like whatever. It can be frustrating, but also like I try to look at it from the perspective of like where they're coming from. And I feel like I've even maybe seen an athlete where I'm like, no way, like this is insane.
Mm.
But then you just have to take a step back and appreciate like maybe they just have a God-given like natural freak ability, or maybe they've put in hours of work. And like for me, like bench press, like I don't have an explanation. I don't train it very often. I don't like it's just naturally been a lift that like I've been good at. And so now that I've like had that perspective of myself, I can kind of give that to other athletes. Like, okay, like maybe they're just really good at this. And I'm sure that there's a few people that use them, but I would say like so many people that do CrossFit and are in the sport like value the hard work that goes in. And you kind of just have to brush people off, and they're going to believe what they want to believe no matter what. We get tested. Unfortunately, the way CrossFit does it is they privatize it. So like they own the results. And that leads to skepticism from like the public, because they're like, oh, like they test, but they can keep the results secret. And I don't love that. I wish they did more of like a weightlifting style where it's like a third party that tests. I would feel better about that as an athlete and like a competitor. But it is what it is. Like after semis, I got blood tested, urine tested. I got tested like 3 weeks before semis. So they do test. It's just they keep it disclosed, which is strange. I don't really know why they do that.
And
like-
just
sorry,
really
Dave,
quickly,
go ahead.
Mike, just to ask about the testing in and of itself, because coming from the Olympic sports, obviously, USADA and WADA oversee all of the testing that we have to go through as being in the pool of athletes that are, Olympic bound or training at the highest level. And it's pretty rigorous. I would get tested once a month, and all random tested. You have to put down your whereabouts form. You have to let them know where you're going to be basically every moment of every day. You have to let them know. And if you're not at that particular time when they show up, you get a negative test. And so, or excuse me, a positive test. So I'm curious, like from that side of things, yes, they are testing you every once in a while, but how rigorous is it? Do they require you to have a whereabouts form? And do you need to actually disclose where you are throughout the actual training year, aside from the competitive side?
Yeah, so I was actually in the pool of like random athletes from the fall up until camp, I think. I don't know if I'm still in the pool, but I got an email notified me like that you need to give your whereabouts for like these specific dates from, I don't know, like October to December. And then it was like December to February. So like I had like 2 or 3 different emails where I had to submit my whereabouts and if I was going to be gone. When I did in fact get like selected to be drug tested, I got like a 24-hour notice, like, hey, like we're going to be at your house tomorrow. Can you call to confirm like letting us in, or like confirm a time to meet? So I don't know enough about all the steroids to know if like 24 hours, I guess, is enough time to hide something, or if that would be considered rigorous. But it was a 24-hour notice. After the semifinals, we were pulled straight from the floor, so we didn't like you couldn't see anyone, you couldn't hug anyone until your drug test was complete.
Got it.
I don't know how that compares to you guys, but that was my experience.
Yeah, it's a little different.
That's the same.
Yeah, competitions
right,
out of comp is a little different, but in comp, obviously, you get pulled right from the podium, right from the floor, and you have to do your test prior to going to media, going to anywhere else.
And what Dave, our out of comp was like, if you weren't there, they'd call you and you had like an hour to show up, or I forget exactly what it was. I always had problems because I lived in the middle of nowhere, and then they would have trouble finding my house.
Yeah, it was always just such a terrible thing. Like I hated it. They would come at like 5 a.m. and like wake us up, and then some days I would just get so pissed that they had ruined my day. It's unfortunate because they're all very nice people. They're all great. They're all just trying to do their job. They're all just trying to be, work for USADA or whoever they're working for. And I'd be like, no, you ruined my day. Now I'm ruining your day. And I was like, I am not going to pee all day. You're following me around everywhere. And so like I would just hold in my pee and make them follow around with me. They'd come to practice. Yeah, I would be like, no, I'm not going. I'm like, you just have to follow me around all day. So there would be like days when I'd have people following me around for like 10 hours and be like, nope, you're coming to practice. I'd take a nap and they would sit on the couch next to me while I napped. They would come to lunch with me. I'm like, no, I am ruining your day in the way that you ruined my day.
I would never expect that from you.
If anybody thinks Dave's exaggerating, I've traveled with him and I'm pretty sure I've timed him like at least 20 to 30 hours where I have not seen him use the bathroom. So he has that's one of his superhero skills.
Yeah. So no, you just get so frustrated that like, how many days can I be woken up and that I'm like, no, today, this is going to be your day. You're here. You're going to understand what it's like.
Islands.
Yeah. So we'll see whether or not CrossFit moves towards having USADA as their drug testing platform. But it's good to know that there's some things in place. But obviously, it's an area where there's still a lot of skepticism and concern and need for a little bit more I think openness. And I think what you brought up about them keeping the records closed just to them is definitely not helping the situation. It probably hurts a lot of people's questions around, who's a natural athlete and who's not. But I think it's just it's one of those growth periods of CrossFit trying to figure out what's best. And I know also having speaking in the past with Gretchen Kittelberger, who is the founder of IF3, how difficult it is to become an organization that is recognized by WADA and by USADA. It's very expensive and it's super challenging. So I'm sure that's part of the process with CrossFit trying to get recognized at that highest tier level. But another thing that the sport needs to go through as a growing pain for sure.
Yeah, there was a few of those over semis.
Yeah. It's an inevitable piece of this, especially on the judging side and creating uniformity around each athlete getting a fair shake in a competitive setting. But a topic for another time, and maybe something that we can continue to see get better over the next couple of years. But Alex, we've taken up enough of your time today. I'm sure you have a lot to do with your last rest day before you go back into the gym. So we'll let you enjoy your last day off before you prep for the games. But a huge thank you. And we do have a couple of quick questions as we head out, if you're okay with them.
Fire away.
All right. First one's nice and easy. What sport or discipline do you prefer, weightlifting or gymnastics?
Oh, probably weightlifting. Sorry.
Wait, no, you can't switch.
Oh, fake. That was a crossover, Dave. That was, wow. That was nice. Everyone, weightlifting there, and just a little jab in the side.
All right, fine. Give weightlifting.
I like getting better at gymnastics, but I find like the hype after like a good lift, it's a little more exciting.
All right, that's for you, Mike. There you go.
I think that was a good explanation the way you said that, because Dave, I love gymnastics and I like improving on it. But if I hold a handstand for 5 minutes, nobody's like gonna freak out.
Mike? Is that what you need? That's what you need, Mike.
but
You need
if
that.
I know really, but if I go ahead and snatch 300, like everybody will freak out. So that the rush, you get that like in gymnastics when you would, nail a landing from an apparatus. But I think in the discipline of gymnastics, you don't get that same rush.
Can see
So
that.
good job, Alex. I like that answer.
There you go. All right, next question. Is there anyone that you think would be great for us to have on the podcast? Someone that you've come across, one of your coaches, one of your friends that might be a good interview for us?
Oh, yeah, I feel like, have you ever had Carrie on your podcast?
We have had a long time ago. It might be worth having Carrie back on again, but it's been a couple of years since we've had her on.
I feel like there's always just like a lot more to her like life and story that like I would have never known. So she'd be a good one. Of course, Justin's always entertaining. He's a really good like performer, so he's always in the podcast.
I would like to get Justin on, another East Coast guy. His gym in New York was literally around the block from where my apartment was in New York. So we used to cross paths every once in a while. Even though I didn't know him, I used to go by the gym all the time. So we got to work on getting Justin on. That would be a good one. Books and or movies, TV shows. Are you a reader? And if so, is there a book that you're reading right now? If not, TV show or movie you've seen recently?
I've been into reading a lot more this year, like fiction, just like entertainment style books. So I'm reading a series called Throne of Glass. It's like a fantasy genre. I'm really into it.
All right, excellent. We haven't had that one on the agenda yet, so we got to add that one to the list. That's it. Mike, do you have any questions? The only thing we want to finish up with is where we can find her, but do you have anything you want to add?
I feel like that style of book, I almost want to ask Adrian Bosman if he's like read that. I think he has a similar flavor. So you might want to ask him when you see him at the games,
yeah.
or make a recommendation to him for that.
Sweet. Yeah, reading's been fun. It's like been a good like distraction. Like you're just like chilling.
Love it. Well, where can everybody find you? We want to make sure that everybody can follow along with this journey of you going into the games and kicking some ass out in Madison. And where is the easiest way for our listeners to find you?
Like social media.
Yep.
Okay.
Your address in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Visiting hours, stuff like that.
No, my Instagram is Alex Gazan _ and that's really the only social media that I use. I got Facebook, but that's mostly for like my granny and family to keep up.
That's all right. Perfect. Well, huge thank you, Alex. Thank you for the time today. It was great to catch up. And congratulations again on your incredible performance at semis a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to be cheering for you as a Power Monkey alum. All of us are going to be cheering for you come Madison time. So I know you got Power Monkey in your corner.
Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun.
You got it. Well, to all our listeners out there, be sure to head over to powermonkeyfitness.com for services and upcoming events. You can check out our Instagram pages for regular teaching and technical content at Power Monkey Fitness, at Dave Durante, and at Mike Service. On behalf of Power Monkey Fitness, we're your hosts. I'm Dave Durante with my co-host Mike Service. And until next time, thank you all for listening.